The mystery of human consciousness, the human mind, may be the strangest thing we have ever encountered. Not black holes, not quantum physics, not the size of the universe, because every mystery we've ever tried to solve is being filtered through consciousness itself, and that creates a terrifying question. What if the thing trying to understand reality is also the one distorting it? This is the mystery of human consciousness, and the deeper we go into consciousness studies, neuroscience and consciousness research, and the philosophy of mind, the stranger reality begins to look. For centuries, humans assumed the brain and mind relationship was simple. Your brain creates your thoughts, neurons fire, chemicals move, electrical signals emerge, and somehow awareness appears. This is the dominant worldview of scientific materialism, the idea that consciousness is nothing more than neural activity and awareness generated by physical matter. But there's a problem. No one actually understands how subjective experience emerges from dead matter. Scientists can observe neural activity. They can map brain regions. They can study cognition, memory, emotional experience, and mental perception. But the nature of consciousness itself, still unresolved. Why does electrical activity inside the brain produce the feeling of being you? Why does matter suddenly become self-aware? Why does reality feel like something from the inside? This is what philosophers call the mind-body problem. And despite centuries of research, nobody has solved it, because consciousness isn't just another object in reality. It's the lens through which all reality is experienced. You can study a star from a distance. You can examine a cell under a microscope. But consciousness? The observer and the observed are the same thing, and that changes everything. Some researchers in cognitive science argue that consciousness is an emergent property of complex neural systems. Others believe the brain acts less like a generator and more like a filtering mechanism, a receiver, a limiter, a translator. The brain as filter theory suggests that human consciousness may exist beyond ordinary brain activity, and that the brain reduces or narrows a much larger field of awareness into manageable perception, like a flashlight inside a massive dark warehouse. In normal life, your awareness illuminates only tiny fragments of reality at a time. A face, a memory, a thought, a fear. But according to some accounts of altered states of consciousness, the warehouse suddenly lights up completely. And this is where things become controversial, because some of the most unsettling data in consciousness research comes from near-death experiences. NDE researchers document thousands of reports from people who were clinically dead or experiencing brain death awareness. People whose hearts stopped, whose breathing ceased, and whose measurable brain activity was severely reduced or absent, and yet many reported vivid conscious experiences, not vague dreams, detailed experiences. They described expanded awareness, out-of-body perception, intense emotional clarity, transcendental experiences, profound feelings of love and consciousness interconnectedness. Some describe seeing reality more clearly than during ordinary waking life. Now, this does not prove consciousness after death. It does not prove non-material consciousness, but it creates a serious metaphysical question. If consciousness can persist during periods of drastically reduced brain activity, what exactly is the relationship between mind and brain? And nobody truly knows the answer. This is where materialism versus spirituality begins to collide. Modern neuroscience explains enormous amounts about behavior and cognition, but many philosophers argue that reductionism criticism is unavoidable here, because reducing consciousness entirely to chemistry may leave out the most important part: experience itself, love, meaning, identity, fear, beauty, emotion, the invisible human experience. You can describe the chemistry of a kiss, but chemistry does not explain heartbreak. You can map neural patterns during meditation and awareness practices, but the scan itself is not the experience. And that invisible gap has haunted human civilization for thousands of years. Long before modern neuroscience and consciousness studies existed, ancient cultures were already obsessed with consciousness exploration, especially ancient paganism and ancient Greek religion. To them, consciousness was not stable, it was transformable. Something that could expand, fracture, transcend. This is why initiation rituals and rebirth rituals existed across the ancient world. Many ritual systems intentionally pushed humans toward altered mental states: extreme fasting, isolation, sleep deprivation, rhythmic chanting, near-death symbolic experiences. The goal wasn't comfort, it was ritual transformation, a complete collapse of ordinary perception. Ancient cultures believed spiritual transcendence required breaking the normal structure of identity itself, and increasingly, historians now believe ancient psychedelics played a massive role in these experiences. Evidence suggests widespread use of opium in ancient world civilizations, hashish use, and even LSD-like substances derived from plants and seeds. These weren't recreational in the modern sense. They were tools for consciousness expansion, and modern psychedelics and consciousness research has produced fascinating results. Studies involving psychedelic experiences often show reduced activity in parts of the brain associated with rigid self-identity and mental filtering. Paradoxically, as some brain activity decreases, reports of expanded awareness increase. People describe mystical experiences, dissolution of ego boundaries, feelings of collective consciousness, a sense that reality becomes interconnected and symbolically alive. Again, none of this proves supernatural explanations, but it does challenge the algorithmic worldview that consciousness is merely computation, because human experience consistently exceeds simplistic models, and perhaps no theory captures this strangeness better than the bicameral mind theory proposed by Julian Jaynes. Jaynes argued that early humans may not have experienced consciousness the way modern humans do. According to his theory of consciousness evolution, ancient humans experienced hearing inner voices as external commands from gods or spirits, not metaphorically, literally. In this model, self-awareness developed gradually through language, symbolism and meaning, and abstract thought. Human consciousness wasn't fixed, it evolved. Whether Jaynes was correct is heavily debated, but the theory reveals something important. Consciousness may not be a permanent, static thing. It may be shaped by culture, language, memory, symbols, and human relationships themselves. Because humans do not merely observe reality, we interpret it. We fill the world with invisible structures, ideas, flags, myths, religions, stories, nations, money, meaning. None of these physically exist in nature, yet they shape civilization more powerfully than stone or steel. This is what philosophers sometimes call spirit geist or esprit philosophy, the invisible layer of symbolic communication and collective mental reality humans create together. A flag is only cloth, but humans attach emotion, sacrifice, and history to it. Words are only sounds, yet words can start wars or make someone fall in love. Human reality is filled with invisible processes, and this creates one of the deepest existential philosophy questions imaginable. What if consciousness is not just inside the universe, but partially responsible for how reality is experienced in the first place? Quantum physics occasionally hints at this tension between observation and reality perception. Psychology of consciousness explores it from the inside. Spiritual philosophy approaches it through transcendence and inner awareness. But none of them fully solve the mystery, because consciousness remains the one thing we cannot step outside of. Everything you have ever seen, every memory, every fear, every emotional connection, every human experience and meaning has occurred inside consciousness. You have never experienced reality directly, only your perception of it. And perhaps that is the strangest realization of all, that the greatest mystery in the universe may not be somewhere out there among the stars, but behind your own eyes. The invisible force generating identity, awareness, memory, emotion, imagination, and the feeling of existence itself. And despite all advances in neuroscience, cognitive science, consciousness theories, and human cognition research, we still cannot fully explain why consciousness exists at all. Maybe someday we will, or maybe consciousness and reality are intertwined in ways the human mind was never designed to fully comprehend. But one thing is certain, the mystery of consciousness is not just a scientific problem. It is the deepest mystery humans have ever faced, because when we try to understand consciousness, the universe is attempting to understand itself, and we still don't know where the mind truly ends, or whether it ends at all. If you found this exploration fascinating, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay connected for more deep dives into the mysteries of human existence, reality, and the hidden nature of consciousness.